this week, there was a tremendous cold snap. Last week, I talked a little bit about cold weather. It's been a reoccurring theme. I wonder why, because it's just been so darn cold. But this was really cold. This put my values, morals, ethics to the test. And by that, I mean the argument, the hill that I have been willing to die on, which is warming your car up. Should you do it? Yeah, I know. This has been weeks. I'm still talking about this. But here's the thing. You see, I said before in a debate with Jim Miller that I don't warm my car up. I just get in it. I put the seatbelt on. I let the oil pressure come up at least. I let that come up, and then I drive away. People on the internet said I was very wrong. Some people said I was right. Of course, the people who said I was correct are correct themselves. They have the correct stance on this issue. But my values were put to the test this week because I got up at about 4 a.m. last Tuesday to go fill in on our sister station here, Q102.7, and host the morning show and do some morning drive time radio. And, of course, you have to be up bright and early. You got to be up before everyone else is. They're just tuning into you since they're getting up. So you got to be up. You got to be up. But that was the coldest day this week. And at least at my house, when I was leaving, it was 4:30 in the morning. It was -9. Now, I posted about this on the internet, shared the little picture of the temperature in my gauge cluster. It was -9. And, of course, people from Canada and Alaska chimed in and said, those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up. And of course, I know. I mean, that's cold for here. Like Colorado, we're known for snow. We're known for the mountains. I can see Pikes Peak from the radio studio here, right off of Woodman and I-25. But that doesn't mean it's as cold here as it is, on Pikes Peak. I'll put it that way. But -9 was just darn cold. It was chilly. And when I started the car, I had a decision. Which was, do I let it warm up a little bit? Because at this point, what shred of mechanical sympathy I have left was saying, come on, man, let that poor thing warm up. Let it warm up. Don't get on it. Don't do it. It's -9 out. That oil's thicker than molasses. So I admittedly, maybe it was more of a decision, less out of mechanical sympathy, but also more out of my own personal safety and well-being. -9, man, that's dangerous cold. That's really cold. The feels like temperature was like -30. And by the way, I'm saying -9 Fahrenheit in case, of course, if you're listening on the radio, you're here in Colorado, but I have a lot of listeners who listen on the stream and the podcast internationally. And so you might be in a country that uses communist units, I mean Celsius, and so you might be in a country that does that. -9, I think, is like -21 or 22 in communism units. So anyway, it's chilly. It's very chilly. And you know what I did? I let it warm up at least for like 2 minutes. I did. I went back. I caved on my values. I was ready to die on this hill. I stand to my values, even though I did let it warm up for like 2 minutes. I'll probably tell you that you shouldn't still, because modern cars, they're just made to work. They're made to work in cold temperatures. But, I'll say excuses. I'll say more or less it was so I could start it, run back inside and watch it for 2 minutes, grab my jacket and then my gloves and my hat and everything really, and then go back into the car. So it was out of a sense of self-preservation, less of a, you must do it because the vehicle needs it. I still maintain that the vehicle honestly would have been fine if I just got in it and drove. I do maintain that. Mechanically speaking, it should be fine. And especially with, fuel injection. I mean, it starts right up. Doesn't even have an issue. No problems there whatsoever. Fuel injection, not an issue. Of course, the oil temperature takes a little bit to come up, but not that long, in my opinion. When I've looked at oil temperature gauges, it's like, okay, the oil is at 150 degrees long before the coolant is. Long before the coolant is. So, that's not as big of an issue, in my opinion, either. So, but man, did I kind of felt abusive, though. I really did. I got in my car. I said, I don't want to be out here in the cold right now. I certainly don't. And I certainly wouldn't want to get up and just go first thing in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, in the freezing, frigid Arctic weather that we had. But I asked my car to do it. So anyway. So hoping that you have been staying warm, though, all across the United States. This cold weather has really hit much of the United States, not just here in Colorado. And I believe the South got snow for probably the first time ever. There was like snow in Alabama, which is crazy. I can't even imagine what trauma would be inflicted on the people that were there, like mental anguish and trauma. I don't know if they'll ever recover from that, quite frankly. I've been keeping up online, seeing pictures and videos of the snow in the South. And those people down in the South are not prepared for the snow. And I don't blame them because it never snows there. But I will say, regardless of where you live, you should at least have a vehicle generally equipped to handle snow. And if it's not, you know what you do? I hate to say this as a guy who never calls out of work. I go in regardless of how bad the weather is. You should probably just stay home. If you genuinely, this is just honest advice here. If your vehicle is not equipped for the snow, it doesn't have snow tires, doesn't have some sort of all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And so if you're two-wheel drive, I don't care if you're front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, in the really bad, slick, slushy nastiness, if you don't have good snow tires, you're going to have some problems. Because people are like, oh, it's front-wheel drive. The car gets going better than a rear-wheel drive one. I don't care if the car gets going. The car needs to stop, by the way. Stopping arguably is more important than getting going. Because you see, if you get going, if you get up and you start moving, and then suddenly discover that you can't stop, you're in for much more of a problem than if you just were stuck and couldn't get moving. Jeremy Clarkson, famous quote from Jeremy Clarkson. You know, it's, well, actually, it doesn't really apply to this. But you know what? I'm going to say it anyway. It's not speed that gets you. It's suddenly becoming stationary. That's what gets you. That actually kind of contradicts the point I was making, but it's a good quote. So I'm going to stick to it. But no, really, if you're not equipped for the snow, just don't even go out in it, because you then become a hazard to everyone else. So if you do live in a southern state, or you have family in a southern state that just suddenly got a bunch of snow, I mean, maybe if you got a pickup truck with four-wheel drive and you don't really have snow tires, but you got good all-season, all-terrain tires, and you're careful, yeah, you'll probably be fine. I think a lot of issues are also, what did they say? Skill issues. But hey, hope you stayed warm, though. Hope it doesn't get any colder than it's gotten. Oh man, I don't know how much more I could put up with the cold weather. But hey, coming up after the break, we're talking about how the new presidential administration is tackling EV mandates, the automotive industry, and more. And Jim Miller has a big announcement at the end of the show.